What would be smarter would be for Russia to work with the United States and other parties. In the international community to try to broker some sort of political transition. Now, John Kerry, working with his Russian counterpart, has, on paper, said that there's going to be a cessation of hostilities in a few days. This will test whether or not that's possible. It's hard to do because there's been a lot of bloodshed. And if Russia continues indiscriminate bombing of the sort that we've been seeing, I think it's fair to say that you're not going to see any take-up by the opposition. And, yes, Russia has a major military. Obviously, a bunch of rebels are not going to be able to compete. With the hardware of the second most powerful military in the world. But that doesn't solve the problem of actually stabilizing Syria. And the only way to do that is to bring about some sort of political transition. We will see what happens over the next several days. And we will continue to work with our partners who are focused on defeating ISIS. To also see how we can work together to try to bring about a more lasting political solution than aerial bombardment of schools and hospitals are going to achieve. But it's hard. I'm under no illusions here that this is going to be easy. A country has been shattered because Assad was willing to shatter it. And has repeatedly missed opportunities to try to arrive at a political transition. And Russia has been party to that entire process. And the real question we should be asking is, what is it that Russia thinks it gains if it gets? A country that's been completely destroyed as an ally that it now has to perpetually spend. Billions of dollars to prop up? That's not that great a prize. Unfortunately, the problem is that it has spillover effects that are impacting everybody, and that's what we have to focus on. One thing that I do want to add, though this has not distracted us from continuing to focus on ISIL. And we continue to press them hard both in Iraq and Syria. That will not stop. And if we can get a political transition in Syria, that allows us to coordinate more effectively with not just Russia, but other countries in the region, to focus on the folks who pose the greatest direct threat to the United States. All right. Andrew Beatty. Question, thank you, Mr. President. I wanted to ask you, first of all, whether you think that military intervention will be necessary in Libya to dislodge the Islamic State from Sirte. And as an extension of that, do you think that by the end of your presidency the Islamic State will still have geographical strongholds throughout the Middle East? And, I'm sorry, I can't resist asking a third, how was the stadium course? What did you shoot? President Obama, the last, for non-golfers, is a reference to PGA West. Very nice course, very difficult. My score is classified. With respect to Libya, I have been clear from the outset that we will go after ISIS wherever it appears. the same way that we went after Al-Qaeda wherever they appeared. And the testament to the fact that we are doing that already is that we took out ISIS, one of ISIS's most prominent leaders in Libya. We will continue to take actions where we've got a clear operation and a clear target in mind. And we are working with our other coalition partners to make sure that as we see opportunities to prevent ISIS from digging in Libya, we take them. At the same time, we're working diligently with the United Nations to try to get a government in place in Libya. And that's been a problem. The tragedy of Libya over the last several years is Libya has a relatively small population and a lot of oil wealth and could be really successful. They are divided by tribal lines and ethnic lines, power plays. There is now, I think, a recognition on the part of a broad middle among their political leadership that it makes sense to unify so that there is just some semblance of a state there. But extremes on either side are still making it difficult for that state to cohere. If we can get that done, that will be enormously helpful, because our strong preference as has always been the case, is to train Libyans to fight. And the good news in Libya is that they don't like outsiders coming in, telling them what to do. There's a whole bunch of constituencies who are hardened. Fighters and don't ascribe to ISIS or their perverted ideology. But they have to be organized and can't be fighting each other. And so that's probably as important as anything that we're going to be doing in Libya over the coming months. Carol Lee. Question. President Obama, well, that's the great thing about primaries. Is everybody is trying to differentiate themselves, when, in fact, Bernie and Hillary agree on a lot of stuff. And disagree pretty much across the board with everything the Republicans stand for. So my hope is that we can let the primary voters and caucus goers have their say for a while. And let's see how this thing plays itself out. I know Hillary better than I know Bernie because she served in my administration, and she was an outstanding Secretary of State. And I suspect that on certain issues she agrees with me more than Bernie does. On the other hand, there may be a couple issues where Bernie agrees with. Me more. I don't know. I haven't studied their positions that closely. Here's what I have confidence in: that Democratic voters believe in certain principles. They believe in equal opportunity. They believe in making sure that every kid in this country gets a fair shot. They believe in making sure that economic growth is broad-based and everybody benefits from it. And if you work hard, you're not in poverty. They believe in preserving a strong safety net through programs like Social Security and Medicare. They believe in a foreign policy that is not reckless, that is tough and protects the American people. But doesn't shoot before it aims. They believe in climate change. They think science matters. They Think that it's important for us to have some basic regulations to keep our air clean and our water clean. And to make sure that banks aren't engaging in excesses that can result in the kind of thing that we saw in 2007 and 2008. So there's a broad convergence of interests around those issues. I think what you're seeing among Democrats right now is a difference in tactics. Trying to figure out how do you actually get things done, how do you actually operate in a political environment that's become so polarized. How do you deal with the power of special interests, and frankly, how do you deal with the Republican Party right now that has moved so far to the right that it's often hard to find common ground? And so that's, I think, the debate that's taking place right now. It's a healthy debate. Ultimately, I will probably have an opinion on it. Based on both being a candidate of hope and change and a president who's got some. Nicks and cuts and bruises from getting stuff done over the last 7 years. But for now, I think it's important for Democratic voters to express themselves and for the candidates to be run through the paces. The thing I can say unequivocally, Carol, is I'm not unhappy that I am not on the ballot. Ron Allen, NBC. Question. President Obama, intrigued is an interesting way of putting it. Question. President Obama, Ron, let's stick to two. Question. The point is, in the past you've explained that as anger, resentment, insecurity, economic insecurity. The question is, how much responsibility do you accept for that reservoir? Of feeling in the country that's propelling that sort of candidate? And a couple weeks ago, you told Matt Lauer that Donald Trump would not win the presidency. Do you now think that he will not win the nomination, as well? And what about Rubio, and what about Cruz? President Obama, I think foreign observers are troubled by some of the rhetoric. That's been taking place in these Republican primaries and Republican debates. I don't think it's restricted, by the way, to Mr. Trump. I find it interesting that everybody is focused on Trump. Primarily just because he says in more interesting ways what the other candidates are saying, as well. So he may up the ante in anti-Muslim sentiment. But if you look at what the other Republican candidates have said, that's pretty troubling, too. He may express strong, anti-immigration sentiment, but you've heard that from the other candidates, as well. You've got a candidate who sponsored a bill that I supported to finally solve the immigration problem. And he's running away from it as fast as he can. They're all denying climate change. I think that's troubling to the international community, since the science is unequivocal. And the other countries around the world, they kind of count on the United States. Being on the side of science and reason and common sense. Because they know that if the United States does not act on big problems in smart ways, nobody will.